The place is here and the time is now. Let's take it round for round. And people gather round. Let's see who can win the crown. All the marbles involved. Football, baseball, or golf. Who's dominating the hoops? Who's talking false or the truth? Yeah, come and show me your war face. I'll show you my war face. No holds barred, so for your sake, you better show up in good shape. Valuable information is key to your domination. So focus on preparation. Online is your reputation. Yeah, it's one-on-one. You and me, ain't no fear in me. You will see. When it comes to this, you'll be wearing the number 23. In debate, I hold my weight, cause these sports I'm attached to it. Your legacy, get ready, cause I'm gonna set a match to it. Hey, burn 'em. Fire, 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 burn 'em. Fire, 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 burn 'em. Fire, 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 legacy on fire. Fire, 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 burn 'em. Fire, 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 legacy on fire. Fire, 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 burn 'em. Fire, 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 legacy on fire.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 64 of Legacy on Fire here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network and on Bowie TV. Of course, Aaron on the amazing Bowie Television. So glad to be with y'all today. I know it's been 2 weeks. You know, we took a week off last week. We're back. And now we got a lot going on because now we have a Final Four on both ends. We've had some NFL changes. The NBA is getting closer to the end of the season. The UFL has started. There's a lot going on, and we're here to bring it down to you and give you our thoughts and opinions here on Legacy on Fire. And let me go ahead and introduce you to our squad. First and foremost, my co-host on Legacy on Fire, Mr. James Brown. James, how you doing today, brother?
Doing good, man. Back after taking a week off. Can't wait to get into it.
All right. And of course, joining us, he was on the last show with us, special guest, our man, Larry Patterson from the Gametime Sports Network. Larry, how you doing, brother?
What's up, brother? What's up, James, man? I'm glad to be here. Episode 65, ready to talk some sports, man.
Yeah, we're about to get into it. We got a lot to get into, and we ain't going to waste no time. We're going to go ahead and get the party started with one sentence. All right, so our first one sentence topic of the day has to deal with college basketball. Everybody's talking about it right now. The Final Four is going on, and we'll give you those predictions a little bit later on how that goes. But before we get into that, right now everybody's talking about how the women's college game is taking over the men's. So I wanted to ask the fellas one sentence on the women's college basketball seeming to take over college basketball over the men. Larry, I'll start with you first. What's your one sentence on this situation?
My one sentence is I feel like it's on its way. This past week, we saw the women's the Iowa and the LSU game, and it was a reported average of 12.3 million viewers, and that was the highest viewers in ESPN histories. I feel like, you need more battles like the Caitlin Clark and my homegirl from LSU. I'm blanking on her name right now. How often we're going to get those kind of matchups? I don't know. Very slim, but I feel like the women's game is well on their way. The women's game, the men's game is not, too far off either. It's still up there too, but I feel like the women's are definitely on their way. As they already been there.
Yeah, and Angel Reese is where you were looking. I know every now and then we get brain fire. Yeah, look, I'm intrigued to see how they figure out the next level rivalry because Reese has already said, "Hey, I'm going to WNBA." Caitlin Clark, more likely, I don't think she's going to take the $5 million Big Three deal, but you never know. So who's going to be that next great rivalry in women's college basketball? Because that's what has fueled this uprising for the women. James, we head to you, brother. What's your one sentence on women's college basketball maybe taking over the reins over the men?
I'd say that the ladies have the star power right now. When you look at the college basketball game on the men's side, there's a lot of one and dones. There's a lot of guys transferring around different programs, and then also you got to think about the guys who are good enough where they forego college and go straight to the G League or play overseas. Whereas on the women's side of it, a lot of these girls, they blow up in college and they go to the WNBA, and it's kind of a step down. So the fact that, they're there longer, you kind of get to know them as players. You kind of get to know them as individuals. You see them compete year in and year out. They have the potential, man, to overtake the men's game just from the sheer fact that the fans know who they are. Like I said, they have the stay power and they stay in school a little bit longer. People get to know them more. I mean, what Angel Reese did 3 years. I think Caitlin did 4 years. And even with LSU, you still have Flage, who's still there for another year to 2 years. Juju Watkins out at USC, Paige Bucher from UConn. So, these are all women that play the game of basketball extremely well. They have the star power. They're on the star teams. And, they have a chance to kind of keep that rivalry, or at least keep that fuel going, where we could see the women's game take another step up in the coming years.
Yeah, we also did today. LSU did kind of take a little bit of a blow. They got the superstar transfer last year from Louisville, and I'm going to destroy a name. I think it's Haley Van Leith. I could be destroying it.
She's in the transfer portal.
Yeah, so, and she decides to go in the transfer portal. So somebody's going to get themselves a star. And I think earlier in the season, we saw the benchings that she got during critical moments in big games. And I don't think she liked that too high. But it's tough when you have a team of superstars. Sometimes superstars get left out, or really good players get left out. My one sentence on this would just simply be saying, I knew they were great all along. So, I mean, it's one of those things where we on the network have covered women's basketball since our inception, and we've seen some really good women's basketball over the time in the Atlantic 10, also with UVA and Virginia Tech and the ACC. So we've seen a lot of good women's basketball, and we knew that it was a good game. We know it's the more fundamental game. We know it's the more aggressive game out of the two, and now I think it's starting to shine. So congratulations to the women on that note. Next one on one sentence. Time to talk about the I'm still getting used to it. The UFL is underway. Last weekend they had week 1. Surprisingly, I guess on our end, we saw the DC Defenders go down, which I thought was like, what? I was a little bit surprised about the DC Defenders going down. But I wanted to get your one thought so far on the UFL season. Have you watched it? Are you excited about it? James, I'll start with you first.
Missed week 1. Looking to tune in this coming week. So, yeah, I missed the first week of the UFL. Apparently, they had a couple great games. A lot of guys who, had a chance in the NFL or, were on NFL rosters, and now they found themselves to the UFL. Apparently had a lot of great games in week 1, especially with Matt Corral of the Birmingham Stallions, I believe. He used to be on the quarterback for the Panthers and had a short stint with the Patriots. He had a hell of a game apparently for week 1. So spring football, sure, it's going to be exciting with the DC Defenders. They were pretty good last year. They lost week 1. We'll see if they can bounce back. Also looking forward to the Beer Snake.
Yeah, my friend the Beer Snake.
Definitely looking forward to that.
Last year, I had to dodge quite a few lemons. I had to dodge quite a few lemons sitting on the field. Next thing you know, you see like this yellow, like, what is that? And it's a lemon. So don't do bad things at a DC Defenders game. Don't get a bad call, or if you're a referee, please don't make a mistake. Just try to be the best you can, because those lemons are coming. The Beer Snake is intact. They do have a game this weekend, supposed to be going to the game this weekend. We definitely will have a Legacy Maker presence there, so I'm very excited to see how that goes. Larry, we head to you, man. What's your one sentence on the UFL? It's underway. It's round 2, technically. This is the 3rd year for the USFL, technically, and then, the XFL is back in for their 2nd year, but they are now conferences in the UFL. What are your thoughts so far?
So with NCAA going on, I caught like a snippet of it, like going back and forth. And to tell you the truth, it's nothing like the NFL. So it's like I'm into it, but I'm not really into it. But I can take some things away from what happened. It was a pretty entertaining weekend. It's just like James said. Matt Corral had him a nice game. You had Memphis getting 4 sacks. And recovering 3 fumbles. The Brahmas look like they got some energy and they got some swag. The Michigan kicker, Jake Bates, hit the 64-yarder. the game winner. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen in week 2. By the end of the season, going into NFL training camp, it's going to be a couple guys from that league that's going to be on a roster or two, on a practice squad or two. So I'm looking forward to see what's going on with it.
Now speaking of the kicker from Michigan, what's his last name is Jake? I saw
Bates.
it. Jake Bates. So Jake hit the 64-yarder. Now, a lot of people don't realize he hit the 64-yarder twice because he hit the first one.
Yeah.
They froze him, and then he hit it again. So it was like, and he was always, he was on Pat McAfee's show, and he talked about being a backup on some of these really good, on some of these 2 college teams where they had really good kickers. I think Texas State was one of them, and I think it may have been Little Rock, Arkansas, but they were 2 really good kicks. And I think one of the kickers is in the draft this year. And he was like, I just never really had a chance. So the XFL gave him, the UFL gave him a chance. And now my man's out here booting 64-yard kicks, and he's already starting to get looks from the NFL. It's only been 1 game. But but that's Detroit too. I mean, come on, y'all. We know we know boomers get off in that stadium. But there it is for our first section there. That was 1 sentence. Now we head over to the fire starters. All right, so with our fire starters, we've got some new NFL rule changes. So I kind of wanted to hear from the guys on their thoughts on some of the rule changes that they've seen, what they're thinking about the rule changes. Do you like them, yay or nay? So I'm intrigued to see that. Larry, I'll start with you first. What are your thoughts on the rule changes? Some of the rule changes that you've heard, which ones you like? If there's one that you don't like, what are your thoughts so far?
I know a lot of people don't like to see change, but in this case, I think change is good, especially for the sport. You get a little, some more safety going on, less concussions, especially with the kickoff, less full speed, less collisions. It was another with the tackle rule that limits season-ending injuries, ACLs, and stuff like that. So I understand, a lot of people don't like to see the change. They want to see hard hits. They want to see the action, but you gotta look out for the safety of the players. Especially if you want to see your favorite player out there on the field, man. It's a new day and age. It's time to adjust.
I can definitely agree with that. I mean, I know it's a little bit tough out there because some of the rule changes are a little bit, but James, I'll head to you. What are your thoughts on the rule changes that you've seen so far?
All right, let's start with the good. I think one of the changes I saw, coaches will get a 3rd challenge, I believe, if their first 2 are successful. So like that, rewarding coaches for making smart decisions. Picking up that 3rd challenge, I believe, that'll be an asset for, potentially some of the smarter coaches in the league going forward, or a lot of the organizations that have, good eye in the sky people. So I like that. The kickoff rule changes, I think that is going to make things a little bit more competitive from a kickoff standpoint. Last season, a lot of the times we just saw guys booting it into the end zone, and it's a touchback automatic, I think, at the 20 or the 25-yard line. So with this new kickoff scheme where if it goes into the end zone for a touchback, I think teams get it at like the 35 or the 40 now. So, it's almost a disadvantage now for teams to just kick it into the end zone for a touchback. You kind of want to hit that sweet spot in between the goal line to the 20, I believe. That's like a return zone now. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. With that, I think a lot of teams have started to sign guys that are really explosive in the return game. Unfortunately, Cordell Patterson is no longer in Atlanta, I believe, because of this kickoff rule. He's now in Pittsburgh. But, hope my guy does well. Hope he stays healthy. So, always interesting to see what goes on there.
Good.
So now, let's get into the bad, and that being the new hip drop tackle rule. Because what in the freak for a PG sense? What in the freak? Because now, you're taking away again something else from defensive players. I know Larry said it's about keeping the players healthy and seeing your favorite players. I got favorite players on defense too. I like when my favorite players on defense play defense and make hard hits. stop players from getting first down, stop people from getting into the end zone. And so now we have another rule change here that's supposed to be in the best interest of keeping the players safe. But what about keeping the defensive players safe? Seems that we're really focused on keeping these offensive players safe with disregard to the defensive players whose job it is to still get these guys on the ground and prevent first downs and touchdowns. So I don't like the rule change. I think more so what I don't like about it, it's poorly defined. They really haven't defined exactly what a hip drop tackle is and how it's going to be enforced from an officiating standpoint. I mean, the officials are trash as is. Now you're giving them something else on their plate that's kind of hard to determine. They can't get goddamn pass interference right, but you expect them to call hip drop tackles correctly? I mean, hell, we had guys blowing on quarterbacks, getting 15-yard flags for unsportsmanlike conduct. I mean, unsportsmanlike penalties for roughing the passer, and like they just blow by them, and it's like unsportsmanlike, roughing the passer. Like, what are you talking about? Now these are the same individuals that have to call a hip drop tackle. I think it's trash because of the officials.
It's a big mess.
See, this sucks.
I
we
will
know
say
this. They can't keep up.
I don't like it for the defense. I really don't. And I feel bad for some of the players because they're like, what are we supposed to do here? Some of them are like, I don't know what we're supposed to do here. Now, in regards to the kickoff, I have to say this. I am very excited about the kickoff. I got to see it a little bit last year at XFL games, and I thought that it just made a whole bunch of sense. And a lot of people, this is stupid. So would you rather see a kickoff, which is at this point in the NFL was just ceremonial. You're kicking the ball off into the end zone. I literally went to 15, 16 games last year, and I think I may have seen people return the ball I could count on my hand, maybe like 4 times. And I'm sitting there like, this is so boring. Like, I saw Antonio Gibson do this. I know you can't see me, but I see him do this 9,000 times last year for the Commanders. I don't want to see that. I need to see the kickoff return. I love it. It was very competitive when the XFL last year when they had it. I think it's going to be great for the NFL. It's actually going to make the kickoff exciting again. So I'm very excited about that. And the challenges, I like the challenge too. Larry?
I can see special team coaches scheming up blocks and everything on the special teams. And to James, I agree with you on the defensive players. Now, I think I told Rob this. What I think you're going to have is a whole bunch of like 80 to 90 to 85 scores because the defense is going to be like, well, hey, damn it if I do, damn it if I don't. So
if you want to pay me to stand here, by all means. Now, I am a little worried about that. Now, I will say, do y'all think that in any way will affect salaries down the road? Because if defensive players are not as important, it's like when you see the running back position, we saw what happened when, even though they're workhorses, everybody's like, oh, we can figure out that. So that I don't know if that affects them down the road. I'm maybe a little bit worried.
It's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope. If we continue to take away from the defensive side of the game, naturally it's going to take away from the value of defensive players, and it's going to start turning into pay decreases for a lot of these guys. If we start continuing down this path, it's going to get to the point where we only pay pass rushers and corners. I mean, we already don't pay safeties, really. We already don't pay inside linebackers, really. If it continues down this pathway, like I said, it's just going to be edge rushers and corners, the only guys you're paying on defense. And that's wrong. I mean, we have a lot of dynamic guys on the defensive side of the ball that make plays all over the field. And again, their livelihood, in a sense, is being taken away over a dumb rule.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how they handle it.
Jim Nance saying Patrick Mahomes scored through his 14th touchdown of the game.
Patrick Mahomes is on fire. All right, we head to our next one here on the Fire Starters, and it's about the NBA play-in. We are getting closer and closer, ladies and gentlemen, to the NBA playoffs. The play-in starts April the 16th through the 19th. Currently, right now in the West, at the 7th seed, the Pelicans, they would take on the Kings, who are the 8th seed. The Lakers are the 9th seed, and the Warriors are the 10th seed. In the East, right now, the Pacers are the 7th seed. Thank God Miami found a way to sneak into that 6th spot. and then you see at number 8, the Sixers, who could be getting back Joel Embiid at the right time. The Bulls are the 9th seed, and the Hawks are sitting in at the at the 10th seed. So that's kind of where we stand right now with the play-in. And I feel like at times the play-in has been successful in the last last couple of years. I thought it's been fun to watch. But I want your thoughts, fellas, on the play-in matchups. Who do you think comes out of the play-in matchups? James, I'll start with you first.
So I like the play-in because to me, it's officially when the NBA season begins because the guys actually start to play. Now, I know this season with the in-season tournament, we saw a lot of great action at that point. But, again, we're starting to ramp up. We're starting to see guys really start to take it serious, start to care about where they're at in the season, where they're at in the rankings. And, this is the push for the playoffs and push for the championship at this point. So I'm for the play-in at this point. On the Western Conference side, let's just go ahead and get it out of the way. The Lakers are going to make it. I mean, the last few seasons, the Lakers have always been hanging around. They make the play-in. They make it every year, and they make the playoffs every year because of the play-in tournament. At this point, I'm convinced that's the only way that they will make the playoffs going forward. It's the Lakers battling their way in through the play-in to get that final or second to last spot. So joining the Lakers, I want to see the Pelicans. I want to see the Pelicans get that next spot in with the Lakers in the play-in because, again, they're a young and up-and-coming team. Zion's looked way better this season. Brandon Ingram seems to finally found it in New Orleans. And, I just want to continue to see them grow and, make something of it in New Orleans. So I think they get the spot this year on the Western Conference side. And, of course, the Lakers get a spot. The Warriors, I think they're losing the magic. Clay is a shell of himself. Draymond, when he is on the court, shell of himself. And really, the draft picks that they have had in recent memory, the guys just haven't panned out to be the replacement stars we thought they could be. So, I think Golden State goes back to the drawing board this offseason, see what they can get done. But, yeah, I got Lakers and Pelicans on the Western side. If I take it to the Eastern Conference, I really like the young core the Pacers have. Halliburton, Turner, adding a Siakam, which I think for this scenario is going to be perfect. So I like the Pacers to come out on the Eastern side. And then I think if Embiid comes back and he stays healthy, Philly's going to make it because at that point, he's the most dominant big left between Chicago and Atlanta. I don't see the Bulls doing much of anything down the stretch. I think that they kind of pushed it to next season. They got word that Lonzo might finally be able to come back and play. And it's just like, it seems that they kind of mailed it in a sense since then. Not to mention, you got to see what's going to happen with DeRozan. Is Levine going to stay or is he really going to get traded in the offseason? So I think Chicago's mailing it in. Better luck next year. I mean, and the Hawks, I really don't have faith in the Hawks to do anything right now.
I don't have any faith in the Hawks. I know last night, barely, Miami snuck into that 6th seed, but what I'm glad does not happen is this. If they do, we don't have the Knicks in the first round. I do not need that problem at all.
But Randall's done now. Randall had the season into surgery, so y'all might can go in there and take that thing.
It's just the rivalry, man. It's just the rivalry. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him right away.
Don't get me started on them.
I know.
Oh yeah, that's some Larry's boys. That's right.
Yeah, I'm interested on that. Larry, we'll head to you, man. What's your play-in predictions on both sides?
Well, I think this is about as close for either East or West as if you look at it. Like, if you look at the Cavs, like the Cavs are 46-31, and then you look at the Sixers who are 41-35. Now, Sixers I see going on a potential run now that Embiid is back. Now, if you look at the Cavs, Magic, Knicks, Heat, and Pacers, you can argue that it's a little inconsistency with those teams. So it's going to be a lot of change up now. The only change I don't see, we got the Bulls in the play-in once again, and then you got the Hawks. So those two will be battling. And I see like some changes within the 7, 8, and like the spots above them. Now, if the Knicks don't be careful and get the ball rolling, they could find themselves in the play-in as well. I mean, they're only 2 games out. Like Pacers only 2 games behind them. When you go to the West, the Mavs in the 5th seed. I have the Mavs in the 5th seed, the Pelicans in the 6th. Then you got the Kings, you got Suns, and then Lakers and Warriors. So, I mean, it's pretty close in there too. So, I know I'm probably going to go to Lakers because they seem like the more experienced. I mean, you got the Warriors too, but I'm probably going to say the Lakers out of the West, and then out of the Lakers and the maybe the Suns, if they can get themselves together, especially getting healthy and playing well together, and then on the East, I'm gonna go maybe Bulls and let's say the Heat. I think the Heat will end up like they're right there. They're
I don't want
literally
them
right
problems.
there. So
Look, I don't
I
want
think
them
the Heat
problems.
find themselves in the play-in again.
Don't do it, man. Look, they had me sweating
Y'all are
last
playing
year.
darlings though, man. Y'all
Man,
are
I don't.
playing
Man,
darlings.
that's true. And we probably if we got in normally, we probably lose in the first round. So we probably need to at least be the 7th seed to make for sure. I look, man. I don't know. They'll turn it up when they're not supposed to. I think based on what we have right now, I can definitely see the Lakers making it in the West. I kind of want to see the Kings because I really thought last year was good. They had that really good season last year. They kind of a little bit of a fallback this year, but if they sneak in, I would like to see them kind of do some good things. The Eastern Conference is rough. I really do think it's going to be the Pacers and the Sixers. I think they'll both get into those spots. But just imagine if you're Boston and Embiid sneaks in at 8, or you're the Bucks and you got to deal with Embiid in the first round. A healthier Embiid. It's almost unfair. It's almost unfair. So I don't know how that's going to end up going, but it's almost unfair, just a little bit.
I don't know, man. This is for both sides. Like the standings can change
Right.
every freaking night. So I mean, they're literally not far from each other.
We really just don't know how it's going to go.
All
All
right.
right, everybody, that's it for the fire starters. Let's go ahead and head to our main flame. All right, so we head to the main flame, and we're talking the men's and women's Final Four predictions. We have our Final Four teams right now, and it has been a interesting ride so far. I'm excited to see how this thing kind of ends up. The women, you got Caitlin Clark in on the women's side. Paige Becker, she's in there doing her thing. South Carolina. South Carolina might be it's gonna sound stupid out loud, but they might be a quiet 1 seed because like they haven't lost a game this year, and no one like it feels like no one talks about them. It was either Angel Reese or they talk about Paige or they'll talk about Caitlin, and it's like, hey man, ain't that team 35 or something like that? That's what that feels like. But then on the men's side, UConn trying to repeat. I think it's interesting. You got both men's and women UConn, both men's and women NC State. So I think that is pretty cool. And shout out, I don't want to jinx them. I had to tell y'all after the show. But James, I'll head to you first, man. Give me your Final Four predictions. Who wins it all? When we come back on next week, who will be the NCAA champion?
All right, so
On both
kicking
sides.
it off on the men's side, with UConn versus Alabama, man, I think UConn does take it. Alabama's been on a roll. Seems like that Tide football money is starting to spread around, and now they're starting to get basketball recruits. Who knew that Alabama was also good at basketball? But we're finding out this season. But I think the Cinderella run kind of comes up short here. UConn dominates and continues to roll. They find themselves into the championship game. And then on the other side of the bracket, we really have the Cinderella of the season in NC State, man. Like, I did not see that coming whatsoever, but, they face a tough challenge in Purdue. I know NC State has their big man down low, but Edie is a bigger boy than him as far as height. NC State, man, he's got him in the weight department, but, I think Edie's height might be a better advantage for Purdue. And so I think it's going to be a battle of the towers in the final, and I'm going to take UConn versus Purdue. And at this point, I'm just going to roll with UConn. My pick was Houston, and them boys up out of there. They've been sent home. So yeah, I'm gonna go with my backup, which is gonna be UConn on the men's side. Kicking it over to the ladies' side of things. Like Darrell said, South Carolina's been flying under the radar for this whole postseason. I know they had a scare like a round or two ago, but outside of that, they've just been cruising. I think they keep cruise control going. They get past NC State again, unfortunately, who's been another surprise on the women's side. And, they found their way into the title game. And I think that they will be facing off against maybe the best player on the women's bracket this year, Caitlin Clark in Iowa. I think Iowa does get past UConn. If Caitlin has another game like she had against LSU, where she's not only hitting the shots and the tough shots, but getting her teammates involved, distributing the basketball, facilitating the offense. If she plays like that again against UConn, I think it's going to be tough for them to get past Iowa at that point. Now, if UConn can, defend Caitlin, kind of set up the traps, keep her from being that distributor, force her to just be a shooter, that's going to be their best bet. But, if she gets into that rhythm, she's able to facilitate offense along with it, gets the rest of her teammates going, like Stalky and the rest of the girls, it's going to be tough for UConn like it was tough for LSU. So I'm going to take South Carolina versus Iowa. But, of course, I think Dawn gets a ring this year. So I'm going to think South Carolina continues to fly under the radar all the way to the championship stand on the women's side.
All right, Larry, we head to you, man. What is it looking like for you and your Final Four on both sides?
All right, so I'm gonna start with the ladies first. For the Iowa and Connecticut matchup, I'm going to go with Iowa. I feel like Caitlin Clark, she's hot right now. I think Connecticut, they're dealing with some injuries, but I want to see that Paige Beckers Caitlin Clark matchup. Just like James was talking about Stalky earlier. I think Kate Martin, she's gonna have to get up in there and do some things too. For the NC State South Carolina matchup, as you said earlier, Darrell, like they're the quiet number one, and I think Dawn Staley likes it that way. So she I feel like she don't even want the attention like that. So and then Isaiah James from NC State, 757. She's got an incredible story going on right now, but I think it ends right there. And then for the national championship, I'm going to go. Didn't Caitlin Clark defeated South Carolina last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna go with South Carolina. I'm gonna go with South Carolina on this one. For the men's side, Connecticut, Alabama. Alabama plays great offense led by Mark Sears, but Connecticut they're just so dominant, and I'm gonna take Connecticut on there. And with Purdue and NC State, the battle of the bigs with Zach Edey and DJ Burns. I saw DJ Burns when he was at Winthrop. I ain't saying I knew he was going to be this, but he still had that same kind of energy. But I'm gonna go with Purdue on that one, and for the national championship, I'm gonna go with Connecticut. My runner-up because North Carolina, screwed me over. So,
Yeah.
so
Well,
I'm gonna go with Connecticut for the men. I'm gonna go with South Carolina for the women.
yeah, I think on the women's side, I only have my national championship game. So I had South Carolina and Iowa in the national championship game. Actually, I think no, I had UConn too. So I had UConn going against Iowa. I did not have NC State. I had Stanford in that top part of it. Did not go that way. But I think Caitlin Clark, even though like a lot of people love to see her, as we hear in wrestling, finish her story. I don't I don't think she's gonna. I could be wrong. She could go out there and drop a 50 piece, and I would not be surprised. And if they win the national championship, I would not be surprised. She's been amazing, but it's hard for me to go against Don Staley and the ladies. I mean, they've been consistent all year, and they've been unbeatable for the most part. And like you said, a scare a couple of rounds ago, that was about it. On the men's side, I picked UConn to win it from the get go, so I'm still sticking with UConn. I had them going against. I think I had them going against Houston. Thank you, Houston. But I will say this: the NC State thing is, it's something about NC State right now that's a little bit tough to kind of like look past. I got a feeling they're getting to the national championship game. I just don't know how they do it. Now, Purdue, on the other hand, Purdue's got UVA syndrome. They got that 16 seed. They lose to the 16 seed, and guess what? They're on the path to do the exact same thing that UVA did when they lost theirs. And if it happens, people will be like, "Wow, that's the key to winning the national championship: lose to the 16 seed, take your L, and then the next season go in there and win the national championship." So, but if I had to see it right now, I'm going to go NC State, UConn, but I got UConn winning it all on the men's side. All right, everybody, that is it for the main flame. Now we're going to go ahead and finish this bad boy up. It's time to put out the fire.
Fire, fire, burn on. Fire, 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 burn on. Fire, 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 legacy on fire.
All right, so we're going to put out the fire here for our last segment. And, I don't know who wants to go first. I always try to ask, to see if anybody wants to go first. We got any takers on who goes first? James like, nah, not me. Larry's
I
like,
mean,
I just don't for as far as WrestleMania. Happy WrestleMania to everybody that likes wrestling and
yeah.
loves wrestling.
Tell him, Larry.
I don't want to see Cody Rhodes finish the
Oh
story.
no, he doesn't want to see Cody finish
I
the
don't want to see
story.
Cody Rhodes finish his story. I feel like this bloodline's got so much more meat on the bones. But I'm in the crossroads of it. I feel like half my mind is like, I think they're trying to get Cody Rhodes to finish the story, and then I feel like, well, the bloodline still got so much more left of their story to tell. So this is the most unpredictable WrestleMania ever. It's probably the biggest WrestleMania, but it's more the unpredictable. Like you know how you got a surprise appearance at WrestleMania. I'm still like, who's the surprise person going to be? So I just can't wait to this whole thing kick off, and let's go Bloodline.
Let's go bloodline. I love it. I love it. James, we head to you, man. Time for you to put out the fire.
I think for mine, I want to take it to the NFL, and I want to ask: is the Bills Super Bowl window really starting to close?
Done.
This off season alone, they lost Jordan Poyer. I think Micah Hyde's up out of there. Tre'Davious White gone. Gabe Davis gone, and now today they traded Stephon Diggs, who was their second best offensive weapon, to the Texans. And so now, before we were always saying, Josh Allen, man, it seems like he's got to do it by himself. It seems like, he's really the one engine keeping the Bills running. And now it seems even more so like, they're going to have to lean on him to get them to the promised land because, the roster seems to just be lacking star power now at this point. Like I said, you lost Gabe Davis, you trade Stephon Diggs. The only receiver they added that was probably viable in the offseason has been Curtis Samuel. Other than that, they signed Mac Hollins, and I think they still have Shakir Brown, a guy they drafted from a year or two ago. But it's like, who is Josh going to have to throw the ball to? Like, are we going to see two tight end sets with Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid? Like, is that what's going to be what propels them over the top? But, there's a lot of questions this upcoming season for Buffalo. Is Allen really worth the money? Can they still get the job done? Will McDermott keep his job? Can they still win that division? We're going to find out a lot about what the Bills are made of this upcoming season. And I, for one, kind of can't wait. If you're the Dolphins, are you looking at, hey, this is our shot to finally win the division? If you're the Bills, can we defend our crown? And if you're the Jets, can we get a quarterback who can stay healthy?
Just stay on the field. That's it. Nothing more. Just stay on the field. All I asked for to stay on the field last year for 65% of the time. We should have the number 10 pick in the draft right now. I am mad, but that's okay. I'm not going to let it get to me. I'm not going to let it get to me at all. Now, I will say with this, James, I agree. I think the window's closed. Now, with that being said, Allen's only 28 years old, and quarterbacks nowadays are playing until they're deep 40s. So if you're looking in the long term, that's 12 more years of a solid quarterback, maybe 10 years of a solid quarterback. He does. I mean, he takes some hits, but he still stayed pretty healthy for the most part. So it's just like, how they're going to retool. That's going to be big for Buffalo. And I don't know who wins that division this year. It's truly a toss up. Well, I'm not really worried about the Patriots, but the other three, it's really a toss up. I really do think it's a toss up in that division right now. So
They definitely gonna have to build through the draft. They got 10 picks, so they're gonna have to nail on all those picks.
yep.
They're gonna definitely have to address the defensive side of the ball. They lost a lot of people over there. And as far as offense, those receivers, I mean, Khalil
It's
Shakir
looking
seems like the
light.
man right now.
Yeah, I mean,
And then Curtis Samuel, you bought him over there, but I mean, it's man.
well, I was excited when they brought Curtis Samuel in because last year Curtis Samuel didn't have a bad year. With
Yeah, he
St. Louis,
didn't.
he was probably their best receiver on the Commanders last year. He had a really decent year, and I thought, oh, this is gonna be good for him. He goes back, he's gonna get back with a coach, offensive minded that coached in Carolina with him. This is gonna be a great year, and they got Diggs there. This is gonna be great. Now he's the number one receiver. Which I think he can handle it? Yeah, maybe. But they're going to have to definitely draft receiver in the first round. I mean, unless they go and find somebody or trade for someone, they got to be thinking receiver. That's got to be the number one option if there's somebody available at that time.
T.
Now,
Higgins.
T. Higgins he's begging, please take me away from here.
You got to pay Higgins though, and
Hurt me.
Buffalo ain't got no money. They'd have to
Yeah,
pay him,
True.
and it's like
that's the problem.
the
And then
bank is
maybe
running
another
dry
year.
over there.
It may be another year or so before they can have some money. I think they're just going to have to wait. I mean, they took a $31 million cap hit for trading Diggs. Ah, boy, that thing was a dumpster fire. Ever since they
My
lost
thing
that
is,
big deal,
I hope he don't mess that thing up in in
oh man.
Houston.
I mean,
You know,
100. We got to look at the track record. I mean, where he's been, there's always been something that happens, and all of a sudden things are, can you say it's Kirk Cousins seems like the nicest guy in the world? Can't be Kirk, right?
right?
So, and then
Definitely not
Josh,
Kirk. I'm
and then Josh
definitely not
Allen.
biased on that either.
And I know Josh Allen has had his moments here and there. And, there was definitely something going on because towards the end of that season last year, he didn't get the ball. He rarely got the ball. And they were hitting everybody else. I was like, something ain't right. Something ain't right.
I
Don't know
saw a
what it is.
stat. I saw a stat that he threw 16 touchdowns in the postseason. I think it was this past year.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them were to none of them were to Stephon Diggs.
Crazy.
So when it matters most, he hasn't even gone to him. He hasn't even
He never
scored. So I
does.
mean, hey,
I will say,
I will say
Go ahead,
this for
James.
Diggs. As far as him arriving in new places, he shows up big. So if you're Houston, if you can capitalize, I think they reworked his deal. He'll be a free agent after this season.
So it
But
doesn't
wherever
hurt
he
him.
goes, he shows up big to start off. So if he gets there and they capitalize off him being pissed off and him being motivated, maybe Houston goes on a run with him this year, and then that sets him up to get another, probably a final payday, because I think he is 30 or 31 at this point.
I think he's 20.
I think he's on the back.
He's up there. He's up there. He's like 28.
He's on the
like
back
30.
nine at this point.
Yeah.
So he can set himself up for a nice little last payday.
Well, Houston has done a phenomenal job this offseason. And we talked about it a couple of weeks ago when we were picking our teams. I think, Larry, you picked it. And this is before Diggs got there. And it just got back. It just took another leap.
Can't look out for that first week matchup on that Thursday.
He said it.
Houston and Kansas City.
I told somebody the other day, I said, my man Larry, I was telling him, who you think will start the season? I said, my guy Larry said Texans. And this is before the trade. It was like Texans and Chiefs. Now I'm almost 100% that it's probably going to be that. I would be very shocked because the way they went with it, young and up-and-coming team versus the champs. So I think that's the route they're going to continue to go with. And guess who's the young and up-and-coming? The Texans. Man, I'm excited to see them play next year. Really excited. All right, so my put out the fire is going to be really quick. I'm piggybacking off of Larry. It is WrestleMania season. Let's go. Look, I'm hyped. I ain't gonna sit there and lie to you. I'm so excited for this weekend. I'm gonna miss a little bit of night one because I got a broadcast, but I will have the phone. Like it's gonna be on while I'm doing the broadcast. I'll be like, whatever. But I'll be in there for that. I kind of Larry. I see what you're saying about the bloodline. Like you kind of want to see, him hold on. And if they do, wouldn't that feel like the biggest waste of 2 years? For him, he almost has to win the title because do you want to waste the 2 years? Because here's the thing: if he loses, you can't push it along. The only way I think he wins or whatever, and they don't want to hold on the title is if Damian Priest cashes in, and like he wins, but then Damian Priest cashes in, and they still take the title from him.
Yo.
And so
Yeah.
that's the only thing I can think of right now. But I definitely think Rock and Roman will win night one because they got to have bloodline rules. It's gonna be insane on night two. It's gonna be insane on night two. But I will say this: the match that there's two matches I'm looking forward to: the tag team matchup, the gauntlet match, because they're separating the titles finally. Thank the Lord. Hopefully, that also means we're actually going to get new tag team championship belts because those belts are hideous. They're
Yes.
ugly titles. And then the last thing I would say is I really think the match that is going to be the one that is going to be probably the best match, the most undercover match in the whole of both nights is going to be Logan Paul, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens. You watch out. That thing is going to be a barn burner, as JR says. That is my prediction for the most underrated, but it's going to be the match that steals the show. All right, everybody, that is it for Legacy on Fire, episode 64. I'd like to thank my man James Brown, my co-host, of course, for joining me as well. And then, of course, my man Larry Patterson from the Gametime Sports Network. Larry, thank you for coming on, brother. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Facebook, YouTube, Gametime Sports Network. I'm also on IG at Gametime 365 Sports, and you can follow me there.
Follow Larry. Follow the leader, my people. Follow the leader. James, anything you want to say before we get off here?
Hey, man, always great to be back on with you boys. Appreciate it for another week. Everybody out there watching and listening, tuning in, please make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and check out all the great stuff we have here at the Legacy Maker Sports Network.
Yeah. Shout out to my man Cortland Griffin. Let me tell you something about Cortland. One of the best draft minds out there. Love my man Cortland. It's good to hear from you, brother. And he said, can we just get Jade and Bianca? Not just yet, Cortland. Give it time. Let it manifest.
Yo,
That's next
oh
year.
my
That's
God.
WrestleMania 41, Cortland. Give it a little bit of time. But I do like the fact that they got them tagging together. It's actually going to protect it'll protect Jade a little bit as she's kind of getting used to being in the ring in the WWE ring a little bit more. But let me stop nerding out on wrestling. Once again, everybody, thank you all for tuning in. We truly appreciate you. Make sure you check out the Legacy Maker Sports Network. Go to www.legacymakersports.com. Check out all our social media platforms, Legacy Maker Sports Network or Legacy Maker Sports. On the X's, Legacy Maker SPN. And make sure you check out our shows. We got a lot of good things going on. Larry and Rob have been killing it on Sunday nights on the Rob Johnson Sports Show. We got Becca killing it with Monster Minutes. Of course, we're out here doing our thing. And, we'll have more shows. Our draft show is coming up where all three of these individuals will be involved in some form of the fashion. So once again, everybody, thank you all for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. From Larry and James, I'm Darrell. Until next time.